Hi everyone, Steve here for Who Took My Dice Miniature Wargaming. Today's video is actually going to be looking at a phenomenon that's been going on for a couple years now. Every time a new codex has come out for certain armies, we've seen a disappearance of characters. And I've been inspired for this video primarily after my friend Wolf Brother Mythos from Frost and Fist, who's been pretty upset that Bran Redmaw, a space elf character from the Forge World books, has mysteriously vanished. Now, is he gone for good? We don't know. But I've had other people I've seen it elsewhere have said, where are all the characters going? How come these characters have disappeared? The Dark Eldar, the Astra Militarum, Orcs, have all been hit pretty hard with characters just vanishing. And people want to know why. And there's a couple different reasons why. So I'll explain this and kind of let you guys know why these characters have disappeared, the reasons, which are all real world reasons why they've disappeared. At the same time, I'm gonna be working on my building. I gotta get this thing done. I want to get it done for my terrain builders video that I want to do tomorrow. So we're gonna try and get this done up. Just working on mixing some paints right now. Like I was saying, in Bran Redmaw's case, he may come back. One of the big things I've seen recently with all the new index books is that they are just there to get people into 8th quickly. Stuff is missing. There's no special rules for anything really, other than what's in the particular data slate for each unit. This is actually very reminiscent of when third edition came out. In 3rd edition, the rules, there was such a significant rules change, just like now, that the rule book when it came out was like that thick, and half of that was rules for the game and setting up terrain and missions and all. The other half was all the armies, and it was basically you had just the basic army. That was it. There was no special rules. There was no Blood Angels, Space Wolves, Dark Angels, like Space Marines, Imperial Guard, Eldar, Dark Eldar, Chaos at the time. And it was the very basics. There was almost, I don't think there were any characters, any named characters, period. So this is a lot like that. Base each index is giving you everything you need just to play your army in its most basic form. So yes, a lot of them do now have the character. Obviously, Gulliman's there. All the special Space Marine characters are there. Forged ones I haven't had a chance to look at yet, but from what I understand, it's just lots of vehicles. Some of the characters are missing. Brad Redmaw. Hopefully he'll be back. Hopefully he'll be back. Because I think that's one of those space elf characters I think a lot of people like. His rules are pretty cool. I've seen them before. But what happened to the rest of them? If you want to go back to what really happened to these characters, you kind of look what happened beforehand. I'm talking years ago, 3rd and 4th, where Games Workshop purposely didn't make certain models, excuse me, or units. I remember in the 3rd edition Catachan Codex, and that's how you say it, I've heard it. If a Catachan can, no one can. Or if you can, anyways, yeah, you know what I'm saying. They actually said when it came to the veteran unit, the Catachan Devils, they weren't going to make a unit. This was perfectly up to you guys to build your unit and to and have fun with it that way. Obviously, throughout the years, this lent people to believe that they could start making third-party bits, and that's where a lot started. So, over the years, there's been lots and lots of people who've made third-party bits for Games Workshop models, and most of the time, these are not legal per se, and depending on how you did them, you could get away with it. A lot of companies have before. The company in question that kind of started this whole debacle off was Chapter House. And what Chapter House did is they made third-party bits. So you had Space Knight heads and body parts. You had alien arms, which were in fact Tyranid arms. They looked like Tyranid arms, but they weren't called that. The Space Knight heads looked relatively like Space Marine helmets. Some had crests. It all depended on what you were building with them. And there's companies now that still make third-party bits for stuff like that. And as long as they keep the names different and they're slightly off from what Games Workshop would actually put out, for the most part, they're left alone. And the Chapter House is the same thing. They kept making bits of different kinds, What happened though eventually was they got a little careless, I would say. And what they did is, after the Space Wolf Codex came out that introduced Thunderwolf Cavalry, Games Workshop still hadn't put any out. It was one of those times where the rulebook came out and there were no models to support it. I mean, there were, but there was no Thunderwolf Cavalry model at the time to support it. And so Chapter House made some Thunderwolf Cavalry. And actually it was really nice. Just giant wolves with armored legs on them. It was the lower half armored legs. That kind of looked like Space Marine armor, but at the same time could have easily passed off as just a knight. It was thick. It had studs all over it. It was armor plated, but it could have easily just been a knight. There were no power cables or anything like that. The problem is they actually called it Thunderwolf Cavalry. And so Games Workshop discovered this and went after them. They put out a cease and desist. A big battle went in between the two of them. Both of them making arguments, charges, winning and losing some, money going back and forth. And correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a while and a lot happened. So if I'm missing stuff, please let me know. What happened in the end, though, Games Workshop learned a really big lesson from all this. And that lesson was, if you're going to make an army book, make sure you have the models in it to begin with. There's a whole bunch of different copyright laws in the States. Some of them can be very confusing. The basics is if, use it or lose it type thing. I'm not an expert at copyright law at all, so I'm probably missing some stuff in there, but this is my general understanding of the situation. So what happened is, Games Workshop discovered that, oh no, there's certain models that we just can't make anymore. The Tyranid spore landers, the big mycetic spores that land and stuff, they hadn't made one, ever. They had rules for it, never made one, and so what happened is, Chapter House had made one, Games Workshop couldn't make it anymore, so that's where the Tyrannicide came from. The giant floating ball of doom with the guns on it that drops, shoots out the payload of gaunts or whatever, and then can float around shooting stuff. A whole bunch of different reasons. The other thing they learned, and this is why there was a ton of changes over the last little while, the Imperial Guard becoming Astra Militarum, all the names that are having now with the Eldari and the Dirk, I don't even know how to say the Dark Elder right now, Space Marines going from Codex Space Marines to Codex Adeptus Astartes, things like that. These are things they can copyright. One of the big things that happened in this big courtroom fight was that sci-fi experts were brought in to sort of ascertain if Games Workshop had the right to copyright the word Space Marine. You'd think, well, yeah, it turns out Space Marine, the name Space Marine, that title, that term, has been around a long time, since apparently I think the 30s or something like that. Obviously probably based off the U.S. Marines and so forth and so forth. And there's other things. You can't, Games Workshop can't copyright Imperial Guard. For instance, there's an Imperial Guard in Marvel Comics. There's real Imperial Guards still going around in the world. There's Imperial Guard in Star Wars. They can't copyright that. Astra Militarum, they can. You can't copyright Space Marine. Adeptus Astartes, you can. They can copyright Space Wolf, Blood Angel, Dark Angel, Ultramarine. They can't copyright Space Marine. Alright, so that's what you want to do. You want to copyright Space Marine. You hold on to it and make sure that it's yours. The project, the money you put into building and designing all stuff stays, in-house. No one's kind of profiting from your hard work, which is kind of what some of these places do. Now, I'm not trying to get into a fight over whether that's right or not. That's not what this is about. So, and I know it's a little long-winded. I'm getting to the point of where these characters went. The real simple part of it is Games Workshop saw that if they didn't have the models made, they could end up losing their hard work, their IP on these things, right? And so began the big cull. So when the new Dark Elder Codex came out, not the last one, the one before that, or actually no, probably last one. A ton of characters disappeared. A, because they had old models like Azrael Vect, or they just didn't have models at all, like the Decapitator. Cruella de Vil had a really old model. There was a whole bunch of them. There was a Reaver character, I can't remember the name. All gone. You were left, I think you went from something like 9 or 10 characters to 3. That was it. Everybody else just disappeared. The same thing with orcs. Their weird boy, whose name I can't remember, the guy on the bike, neither one had a model. Gone. The same thing with Astra Militarum. You kept most of the characters, but even old ones like Al-Rahim and those other Chenkov both disappeared. Slimarbo gone. That Cadian character, the lieutenant there, I can't remember his name right now. Gone. Just gone. Gone. Either you had a really old model or no model, gone. And it happened. And that's part of the reason why. That is the reason why. These guys didn't have models or had really, really, really old models that other people had made things of that really resembled. Gone. Right? So that's a big character call. So that's part of it. That's part of the reason why this Games Workshop learning a pretty serious lesson about if you're going to build them, make it take the time to create this character, put the time and energy into making him, give him a personality in the books. You sure as hell better make sure you have a model to back him up with, and they didn't at all. Period. End of story. There was no model to back some of these characters up, or they were really, really, really old models that just needed to go. They were just horrible. Cruella the Vile just was a horrible model. It was a bad model, really bad. There was people who built their own just because it was so just vile and horrible. I guess the name fits then, huh? The other part of it is the Forge World side of it, and the Forge World side's a bit weird. It's a lot of this has happened because of what's gone on with the Horus Heresy stuff, right? It's huge. I don't even think Games Workshop or Forge World, for that matter, really knew how huge the Horus Heresy game was going to be. And they've had severe issues several times over the years keeping up with the demand. And they still have more Primarchs, more units. Making things plastic like they have with the 2 sets has helped, but people still want all the specialty units, all the upgrades, the weapon upgrades, the shoulder pads, all that cool stuff, all the different weapons you can have. And there's certain squads, a whole bunch of squads, tactical support squads, destroyer squads, what have you, heavy weapon squads, that for the most part still require you to have the resin models. That's just the way they're shipped. Along with, I remember when Smog came out, that slowed things down considerably because it was a model that everybody wanted. When Smog came out for Lord of the Rings, huge. Speaking of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, that has all been now moved over to Forge World. They do that exclusively now. So again, there's more resources put into something dedicated to something else other than developing new characters or new models for Warhammer 40,000. That's sort of Games Workshop thing. Forge World does the vehicles. They've done some characters. Again, a lot of those guys have disappeared over the years as well. So again, it's a supply demand. Do you build characters or keep creating, say, something like Bran? He's a one-off model. Yes, he's really awesome. Yes, he's really cool, but do you build a model for him when you can build one from one of the Games Workshop models? Which you can't. Or do you just continue and say, you know what? You can build them whenever you build them. You build a Wolf Lord. Who knows? We don't know what's going to be in the Space Wolf Codex. He could be in there. Forge World could bring him back. We don't know. But I have a feeling that he may just be gone simply because there isn't the time or the resources they can dedicate to continuing characters that, yeah, there's a lot of Space Wolf players out there, but they'll get one. And that's it. Do you keep the resources held on for one guy? It's hard to say. I don't know. Personally, I probably wouldn't. I'd be like, yeah, we had him for a while. He's done now. If you didn't get him, that's unfortunate. I hope that's not the case, because that is kind of disappointing. But you never know. We'll see what happens in the future. But that, guys, is sort of my take from what I know and what I've seen on what happened to some of these characters. What happened to why have they disappeared, right? And some people lamented the disappearance of these characters. But some no one ever even used. They just, whoop-de-doo, it's gone. Which is fine, you know. I never really saw why people would use some of the characters, especially in the Dark Elder Codex. You had that Reaver guy on the jet. His rules were okay, but he was there just, I guess, for fun, which is fine. I mean, the game is about having fun. I just never saw anybody taking him. And most Dark Elder players I talked to never wanted to because he was just, in their minds, not worth it. Alright? Now, I'm not saying that's what they're going to do with Bran Redmond. He could come back valiantly, or they could say, hey, he's one of those unfortunate Space Wolf warriors who fell after the giant wound across the sky popped out. And who knows what's going to happen. I mean, I hope this character comes back. I hope they do get a chance to reintroduce some of their characters. We will see. Well, hey guys, that's all I really want to say on that. I just want to give you my opinion and on the information, some of the facts I know and can guess on. If you disagree with me, that's cool. Let me know what your opinion is on the whole matter. If I've missed something, I mean, especially with the chapter house thing, there is a ton of stuff that happened and went back and forth. It's easy to miss stuff. So guys, let me know what you think. I hope this answers some questions, maybe ease some fears. Honestly, to me, I hope he comes back. I really hope he does. He is brought back so you can have that awesome character again. And if he doesn't, that's unfortunate. But who knows? Maybe they'll come up with an even better character. As usual, guys, let me know what you think down below. If you like what you saw, please subscribe. Share it with your friends, and hit the like button as hard as you want. Well, not too hard. You don't want to break your computer. All right, but hit the like button. And as always, guys, until next time, keep rolling those dice. We'll see you later. Bye.